Eric woke up thinking it was just another workday. Same alarm, same uniform, same routine, but before the sun set, his entire life would be destroyed by one missed call. This isn't fiction. This is the kind of day that proves how fast everything can change. Watch until the end, because what really happened will leave you speechless. Eric woke up to the same alarm he'd been waking up to for 7 years. 5:10 a.m. One long buzz. Two short ones. Silence. He lay there for a moment, staring at the faint crack in the ceiling above his bed, the one shaped like a crooked lightning bolt. He'd been meaning to fix it, just like everything else in his life that he kept meaning to fix. Beside him, his phone buzzed again. A reminder he didn't need. Shift starts 7 a.m. Don't be late. Eric sighed and swung his legs over the side of the bed. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the old refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic already waking up the city. He rubbed his face, feeling the roughness of stubble he hadn't bothered shaving. 52 years old, warehouse supervisor, divorced, no kids, no savings worth mentioning. Another workday. He pulled on his uniform, navy blue shirt with his name stitched in white, Eric. The letters were slightly frayed, like they'd been sewn on someone else years ago and passed down to him. He grabbed his lunch from the fridge, a turkey sandwich wrapped in foil and an apple with a bruise on one side. On the way out, he paused at the door, looking at a framed photo on the wall. It was an old picture of him and Maya, both of them laughing, foreheads touching, sunlight behind them. He didn't smile. He locked the door and headed to work. The warehouse smelled like cardboard, diesel, and exhaustion. Forklifts beeped, conveyors rattled. Men and women moved through the aisles like ghosts, half awake, carrying boxes heavier than they looked. Eric nodded at a few familiar faces as he walked in. "Morning, Eric," said Tom from loading. "Yeah," Eric replied. He checked the schedule. Same as always. Same routes, same complaints, same numbers management pretended were achievable without cutting corners. At 10:17 a.m., his phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He ignored it. At 10:19, it buzzed again. He frowned and stepped into the break room. "Hello." There was a pause on the other end, long enough to make his chest tighten. "Eric Collins?" a woman asked. "Yes, this is Detective Sarah Alvarez with the City Police Department. I need you to come down to the station today." Eric laughed softly, more confused than amused. "Ah, is this a joke?" "I'm afraid not. What's this about?" Another pause. "It's about Maya Thompson." The room tilted. Eric gripped the edge of the table. "Maya, my ex-wife." "Yes, what about her?" "I can't discuss details over the phone. But it's important you come in as soon as possible." His mouth felt dry. "Is she okay?" The silence this time was heavier. "No," the detective said quietly. "She's not." The call ended shortly after. Eric stood there, staring at his reflection in the vending machine glass, barely recognizing himself. Maya, he hadn't spoken to her in over 2 years. Not since the divorce papers were finalized. Not since she told him she was tired of waiting for him to become someone else. He told his manager he felt sick and left. Nobody stopped him. The police station was colder than it needed to be. Eric sat in a hard plastic chair, hands folded so tightly his knuckles turned white. Detective Alvarez finally came out, a woman in her early 40s, sharp eyes, calm voice. They sat across from each other. "Maya was found dead last night," she said. The words didn't land all at once. They hit in pieces. "Found dead last night." Eric shook his head. No, that's not. She was fine. I mean, I don't know, but how?" "Car accident," Alvarez said. "At least, that's how it initially appeared." "Initially," she studied him. "We found your name in her phone. Recent, multiple missed calls." Eric's heart started pounding. "That doesn't make sense. I haven't talked to her in years." "But she tried to reach you yesterday afternoon," Alvarez said. 3 times. Eric swallowed. "I was at work. My phone's on silent." Alvarez slid a photo across the table. Maya's car, crumpled metal, shattered glass. Eric looked away. She crashed into a concrete barrier. Alvarez continued, but the vehicle inspection raised some questions. Eric felt sick. What kind of questions? The brake lines had been tampered with. The room went quiet. "That's impossible," Eric whispered. "We're still investigating," Alvarez said carefully. "But we need to ask you some questions." The questions kept coming. "Where were you yesterday evening? When was the last time you saw her? Did she have enemies? Did she seem afraid of anyone?" Eric answered everything, truthfully, desperately. By the time he left, the sun was already going down. He sat in his car for a long time without turning the key. That night, Eric couldn't sleep. Every memory of Maya came back sharper than before. The way she laughed with her whole body. The way she used to leave sticky notes on the fridge. The fights. The silence. The last argument. "You're always waiting, Eric," she'd said. "Waiting for things to change instead of changing them." At 1:30 a.m., his phone buzzed. A voicemail notification. Unknown number. His breath caught as he pressed play. Maya's voice filled the room. Eric, if you're hearing this, something's wrong. I don't know who else to call. I think someone messed with my car. Please call me back. His hands started shaking. The timestamp read, yesterday, 5:46 p.m. Eric stared at the screen until his vision blurred. She'd known. She'd tried to warn him. And he hadn't answered. The next few days passed in a fog. The police ruled Maya's death a homicide. News articles mentioned a possible suspect, without naming names. People from work whispered. Eric stopped eating, stopped answering calls, stopped leaving his apartment unless he had to. Then Detective Alvarez called again. We've identified a suspect, she said. Eric braced himself. Who? You? The world went silent. What? Eric laughed weakly. That's insane. You had a contentious divorce, Alvarez said. Financial disputes. And your fingerprints were found under the hood. Eric felt the blood drain from his face. I never touched her car. Alvarez's voice softened. Eric, are you sure? That night, Eric replayed the voicemail again and again. Then something clicked. Maya's voice wasn't panicked. It was controlled, focused, almost deliberate. He drove to her apartment. Inside, he found a folder hidden behind a loose panel under the sink. Photos, receipts, emails printed out. Maya had been investigating someone. Her new boyfriend, a man with a history of insurance fraud, sabotage, disappearances after accidents. She'd discovered the truth, and she'd left evidence just in case. But the final piece stopped Eric cold. A note in her handwriting. If anything happens to me, they'll blame Eric. That's the plan. I'm sorry. Eric's knees buckled. She had known she was being set up. And she had known the only way to expose the truth was to let it happen. Eric turned the evidence over to the police. The boyfriend was arrested 2 days later. Charges piled up fast. The case made headlines. Eric was cleared, but nothing felt like a victory. Weeks later, Eric returned to work. Same alarm, same uniform, same warehouse. But everything felt heavier. At lunch, he sat alone, staring at his sandwich. He thought about Maya's last message. She had trusted him, not to save her, but to survive the truth. Eric looked around the warehouse, at people moving on autopilot, thinking tomorrow was guaranteed. He stood up, walked out, and never came back, because that day, the day he thought was just another workday, had taken everything from him, and finally taught him what waiting too long really costs. Eric didn't lose his job that day. He didn't lose his marriage. He lost the illusion that tomorrow is promised. Some people spend their lives waiting for the right moment, until one ordinary day takes everything away. Stories like this happen every day, quietly, without warning. If you believe life can change in a single moment, hit the like button. Subscribe to ACG Stories for real-life stories that stay with you long after the video ends.